on the next Madelinekarita show.
What's up, warriors? Thank you for coming to the Madelinekarita show. And this is Madelinekarita, of course. On today's show, we're going to be talking with medium Michelle Clare. I almost said a different name because I was like, you and my sister have a very similar name. We're going to be talking with the medium Michelle Clare. Let me make sure that is very much up front. Just reading your webpage. Reading your webpage is amazing. You do everything. You're literally like that woman from Touch from an Angel, by an Angel. I think that's what the show was. Let's see. Okay, so before we really hop into these interviews, I want to talk to the audience about everything that you do, right? So you're an evidential medium and intuitive life coach. What's an evidential medium?
So an evidential medium means I've been tested multiple times scientifically to make sure that I'm connecting with loved ones on the other side. So I would log on to a blind Skype reading with a black screen, not know who I was reading for, male, female, where they were in the world, and just start going with the information I was getting for them. And then they would score me depending on the information I got, the names of the loved ones, etc.
Wow. Okay. I didn't even know they had a test like that. And who gives you that test? Like, does the government give the test? Like, who gives that test?
Yeah, right. Well, there are different universities that you can take it with. And I actually took mine with Mark Ireland, and he has a certified mediumship website. So if you go to that website, any medium that you connect with is actually certified, which is really important in what I do because there's a huge spectrum of people connecting to information out there. So I always tell people, go to that website, get a certified medium.
Oh, that's insanity. I didn't even know you could be certified as a medium. I had no clue that actually existed in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think when people think about mediums, we think of like old school films where there's a woman in a like tent with a crystal ball telling you like what your future is going to be, or we think somebody, there's people who do love tarot. There's people who use tarot. But when we think of mediums, we think of, somebody, once again, the crystal ball, tarot cards, the candles, the lights, all of that. You don't necessarily give off that, I guess that's a stereotype, that stereotypical vibe of what I think mediums are depicted as in media. And that's actually super awesome. I think it's awesome that you're walking down the street and, all of a sudden you're always this amazing person. But, it's not like, oh, it's apparent that she's talking to the dead. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised, like, well, how did you know that something was different? Like, how do you know that, like, you're not just, like, a schizophrenic versus you're really talking to people's loved ones? Like, when did you become aware of that?
Right. So that started for me when I was 12 years old. My grandfather transitioned. And that's the use that word for death because there really is no such thing as death. It's just transitioning this realm to the next. So when I was 12, he transitioned and I realized he and I had a very open line of communication still. I'd tell my mom what he had said to me and she would say, well, I know you grandpa think he would say that if he was still here. And I was kind of like, well, I'm pretty sure he's still here and we're still talking. But I kind of learned quickly just to keep that information to myself because it was my conversation with him. As time went by, I ended up having 3 near-death experiences in the span of 11 years. And my last one was in 2011 where I had a traumatic brain injury. And from that one, that really opened up my mediumship ability. And then it came to the point where it was no longer between just me and my grandpa. And I was getting huge messages for people that were going to be life-changing, and I had to share it.
How do you handle that at 12? How do you handle that happening at 12? Like, there's a lot going on at 12 years old. But at 12 years old, there is a ton of stuff happening, especially for a young girl. How did you handle that? Like, how did you navigate that childhood while also dealing with this like huge gift?
Right. You know, for me, it just became very actually internalized and I was quiet about it. It didn't match up with different religions and religious background that I had. And so I just kind of started realizing at that point in time that my experience didn't necessarily reflect what everyone else in the world was experiencing. And so with that, I was able to form that relationship and continue that relationship with my grandpa. And then later on, when I was 18, my grandmother passed and I was able to connect with her. And as all of this went on, I just was able to know it was very much real. They would give me advice. They'd talk about things that were going on in my life, just like they would have done if they were still here in a body. And I didn't feel the need to share it at that point in time because it felt like that personal relationship. So I actually just learned to be quiet about it. I learned that the whole world wouldn't understand, that some people would think it was crazy, that not all my friends were talking to their grandparents who had transitioned. So it just became an internal communication.
Okay. That's a big secret to keep. That's a big secret to keep.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, like just thinking about navigating like the world of teenagerdom on top of that, that's huge. That's a lot going on. That's more control than I think that I actually personally have. What was I gonna say? Let me look at that. What is this? Clients have their own life story. Okay, so you say your clients have their own life story and their own plan and their own loved ones who have passed.
Yes.
How did you begin going from the person who was keeping it a secret to now helping those clients find their loved ones, find the path that they need to be on, helping them with their own life stories? How did you go from that girl to this woman who does this for, I think your Facebook has like 1,000 followers or something?
About,
you have over
yeah,
1,000 followers?
6,000 on Facebook or so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really what happened for me was I had two near-death experiences then as I was in my 20s. And during those both times, it was like a wake-up call for the universe. I was brought to a place with love and compassion and completeness and contentment and these amazing feelings. And after my first near-death experience, I chose to ignore that. Then I had a second one in 2006. You know, it kept opening me up and I kept ignoring it. But then what happened on 11/1/11, which was November 1st, 2011, I fell off a ladder in my kitchen and I was about 12 feet off the ground. And I fell and I hit the back of my head on the corner of my granite island. I missed my brainstem by 1/2 inch. And I have 3 kids. They were 5, 8, and 10 at the time. And my 5 and 8-year-old were home with me. While I was falling, I was out of my body and I was standing with 3 people that I felt like I knew very well. They felt like close friends, although I had never seen them before. And I was watching my body fall. So I was literally in this timeless space and they were giving me the opportunity to choose if I wanted to stay or if I wanted to go. And I remember the conflict about thinking about how this was so interesting because for me, the conflict was how was I in a place with no time? My body was going to hit the ground in 1 second or less, and I had forever to decide if I wanted to stay. Well, I saw my kids. And when I saw my kids, I decided to stay. And at that point in time, my body hit the ground, but I missed my brainstem by 1/2 inch. I lost my taste, my smell, my hearing, equilibrium. I had a 5.5 inch skull fracture, a brain bleed. I had a lot of complications, obviously, from that. It was very traumatic. At that point in time, my 5 and 8-year-old were home. My 8-year-old had called 911 and gotten me help. My 5-year-old had tried to call, but we believe the call did not go through because probably the confusion and the terror of the moment, right?
Yeah.
That happened November 1st, 2011. Fast forward now till January 2012. And at this point in time, my son, he was in half-day kindergarten, 5 years old, and he started feeling really bad because he would say, Mom, I tried to call 911, the call didn't go through. Sophie's call went through. I didn't need to be there. I didn't help you. And he started really internalizing this. He would tell my mom, my mother-in-law, myself, anyone who would listen that he was close to, that he hadn't helped me. He shouldn't have been there that day. And we would say, Josh, you opened the door for the policeman. You know, we were trying to build him up. So the end of January 2012, my grandfather that transitioned when I was 12 came through to me. And this is when I'm finally starting to get back to normal a little bit. I mean, it took years of therapy afterwards, but getting back to normal, I looked pretty normal. And my grandfather came through to me when I was standing in my kitchen. And as a medium, most of the time, our loved ones don't manifest in front of me. I'll see them in my mind or hear them, but I don't literally see them. He became solid in front of me. And I said to him, I have not seen you in so long. And he said to me, I knew it would seem like that to you. So he was obviously connecting to my humanness, because on a soul level, I was still connecting to him, but I hadn't seen his body and him since I was 12. So then he talked to me about my accident, about my head injury. And towards the end of our conversation, he was talking about my son being good with electronics. And he said, you need to get the 911 recording. There's something on there you should know. And it really surprised me. And then he was gone. So I ordered it. It took a couple of weeks to come in, and I played it. And you hear them say, 911, what's your emergency? And you hear my son in his little broken voice, he says, Sophie, what do I say? And he laid the phone down. So his call had gone through to 911. And then you hear for a minute and a half them try to get his attention. And then he says, I'm going to go push the house alarm. And my daughter, Sophie, says, hold on, let me call 911 first. And then she hangs up the phone and her call goes through. So they both ended up being my heroes that day, right? But here was the life-changing part of that. My grandfather, who passed away when I was 12, never walked this earth one moment with my son, literally was able to come through and give me information that no other human was aware of that changed the course of my son's life. When he came home from kindergarten that day, I told him, Josh, I got the 911 recording, your call went through. It was like lifting 10,000 pounds off this little boy's shoulders. And you could see his self-worthiness, his I did something to help, all of this come right back into him. And so then after that experience, over the following months, I would start getting big messages for other people I knew like that from their loved ones. And I remember almost being scared because the people I was friends with at the time, you know, their kids were potty training and they were worried about, you know, first grade math and this and that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but I'm talking to dead people, you know?
Yeah. There's other worries.
Yeah, so I ended up getting a mentor, and I mentored with him for about 4 years, and he's a well-known medium, and he just really helped me learn how to train it, kind of make it on demand so I can tap into it when I'm ready and get the information that I'm looking for.
How do you tap into it?
So how do you tap into it? So the easiest way I tell people is picture it as a radio. Kind of not necessarily our digital radios, but long old-fashioned ones where you got to turn the dial, right?
Yeah.
So thinking of it like that, our loved ones are on different channels than the angels, than your life guides, on and on and on. So if I want to tap into someone's, like say grandmother, what I'll do is I'll kind of open up and if it's a blind reading, so it's somebody who's coming to me who I haven't read before I read for them, I will just open up and say, okay, what do I need to know for this person today? And I always pray that the messages will come in light and love and for this person's highest good. And I have faith that that will happen. So I don't worry about any other things coming through. But as I open up for this person, I'll feel, oh, I feel this person's grandma coming in. And then we'll start kind of giving information. So most of my information comes through feelings. And I describe that as looking at someone you know really well and you know exactly what they're going to say right before they say it. That's how I get the information. So language is not a barrier. I can read as long as my person I'm reading for speaks English. It's okay if their loved ones didn't, because I can still translate the information.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. You you basically get Duolingo for the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever we want to connect with our loved ones, right? Because I have a lot of people that I truly believe everyone's capable of this. It took me 3 near-death experiences to really wake up to it and pay attention to it. I kept getting glimpses and then I would choose to ignore it, and then another glimpse and choose to ignore it. And then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, universe, I realize I can no longer ignore this, right?
Yeah.
But for most of us, a lot of times we let our logical brain talk us out of the sign. Okay, well, let's say your grandma always sends you a song and you know it's coming from your grandmother, right?
Yeah.
But then you're like, well, no, probably everyone else knows this song and they all think it's from their grandma too. Maybe, but how do we even know that song is actually playing on everyone else's station, right? It could literally just be playing on yours right now for you. Our loved ones send us signs, such as they'll send lots of different things. A lot of times they'll send feathers, they'll send coins, they'll send, and so how many coins do you walk by in the parking lot and you just assume, you know, people are just throwing dimes everywhere or whatever it is, right? But actually that is a sign that your loved one's using to connect with you. They talk to us in dream visits. They talk to us internally. So you just know, like if you ever just feel, gosh, I feel mom is here, or I feel like my child is sitting next to me. It's because they are. Those thoughts and that energy, it doesn't drop in out of nowhere.
Wow. Okay, so you mentioned a few lines back that angels were on a different channel, that your loved ones were on a different channel. So how does that work? That there's levels there's levels to it. You know, when I think of levels, I think of things like string theory, something along those lines. Is it similar to just like it just different channels? You said different channels on I don't know what kind of radios those are called.
Yeah.
On the radio with the knobs.
Right.
So how do you go to channel angel to channel loved ones to channel future? You know,
Yeah.
how do you navigate those?
Right. So it's really about, so every single human carries the ability to do this, right? This is a soul right. This is in your soul. This is your given right to do this. So one thing I would say, when you want to connect with your loved ones, really what's a great thing to do is set aside some quiet time, ask them, say, hey, I'll meet you on the couch in the living room Thursday at 2:00, and set up that time and that space for them to connect with you. Then you need to go into it open-minded, and you need to say, okay, I'm open to either sight, sound, smells, things I may feel from my loved ones, to let me know that they are here, right? Angels is the same thing. You know how, like, have you ever looked at someone and you just think, oh my gosh, that person's an earth angel, or one of these words that we use, right? That person acts like an angel, right? So we know that actually energetically we can tell that they have more of that angelic frequency about them. So as we're tuning in and we're like, okay, I want to talk to my angels. Listen, the universe is always listening to you. A lot of times people feel unheard, whether they're praying or journaling or whatever they're doing. They think they're sending it into outer space and it just goes out there and no one ever knows, right?
Yeah. Most people, well, I mean, you know, there's the belief in like different gods, stuff like that, of course. But for most people, they're like, I wish, and then they don't. A lot of people say that they believe in that, but then when you look at their actions, it kind of tells you that they really don't. They really like think that they just put that energy out there and just poof.
Yeah. And so when you want to connect with your angels, the difference is you're sending out, so think of your email or your energy or your frequency, and you're saying, okay, I'm talking to my personal angels. Everyone has at least one guardian angel, if not more. So, I mean, some people have 8. It just depends what they're doing, right? And you literally say, I'm sending out this frequency. I'm sending out this invitation to connect with my angels. What message do you have for me today? It could be a word, a sound, a feeling, a smell. That's the thing. We have to be open because not everyone communicates on the other side the way we do here. So like here, some people are really good at singing and playing guitar. That is definitely not my gift. No one wants to hear me do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel it.
Yeah, so the same on the other side. So maybe your grandma is really, really good at sending you feathers and songs, but she's not good at connecting with you in a dream visit because she has energetic frequencies and specialties too. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Your intention is your strongest tool. So the intention you set behind anything, whether this is a project at work, whether it's how you're going to live your life, whether it's the intention that I will connect with my loved one today. I don't know what that sign looks like. Most of us want to receive that billboard as we're driving down the street and it's like, I love you, Michelle, love mom, or whatever, you know, that's probably not going to happen. That's kind of
Yeah.
open to the fact that my mom maybe sends me a license plate on the car in front of me that has her name on it instead. So being open to the signs that they'll send us. But our intention in saying today, I'm going to connect with my mom and I'm open to the signs that you have for me, that gives her a lot of room and a lot of things to work with energetically.
Okay. Okay. Is there okay? I guess the best way to put this is there some I guess spirits, ancestors, you know, that visit you more than often? Does your grandfather still visit you? Are there spirits that you don't necessarily know that visit you a lot? That like do the same spirits kind of keep talking to you? Or
Yeah.
do they find or do they move around?
Yeah. So we all have what I call a spirit team.
Mm-hmm.
And person is here with that. So that doesn't, your grandma's on your spirit team and your sister's. Like she doesn't have to choose. That's one amazing thing about being in spirit and not attached to a body. You can be in more than one place at a time. So it'll be common if you've ever heard of people who will say there'll be 4 people in a family that at the same time, the same night have the same dream about a loved one who's deceased, right? So that's
Mm-hmm.
just them sharing their energy with all of those 4 people at the same time. And a lot of times they'll say, yeah, he was wearing that green shirt or whatever. So because we all have a spirit team, it is more common for us to connect with that. So my grandfather, my mom, like the humans I loved that are on my spirit team, it's more common. However, that does rotate for us. So let's say that we're going to move into a point in our life where we're on this new business endeavor. Well, believe it or not, our angels kind of specialize too. And so you'll always have your guardian angel with you, but maybe this other angel is coming in to join your team for a while to help move you forward because they actually specialize in whatever this is that you're doing work-wise. So really being open to that. And the same with life guides. We all have at least one life guide that will be with us for our whole life. But as we move through life and we're in different stages, there will be others that kind of rotate in and join our team. As we accomplish that mission, then they step out of the way and make room for the next person or spirit being of light to come in.
I'm pretty sure I got a whole team. I have no clue how I'm still standing most of the time. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I got a whole team for that. There's a whole squad that keeps me like alive.
Absolutely.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I feel like my guardian angel is probably drinking a fifth of whiskey right now, like with a cigarette in their hand. Like, really? Today too?
Yeah, they're like, I signed up for this. What was I thinking? You know, and let me tell you about that if you want to go into that a little bit. I
Yeah.
do believe in pre-life planning. So I do believe that before we incarnate into these bodies, we actually sit down and we have a plan and we talk with the people who will be our life guides. We talk with the spirits that will be our guardian angels and we say, okay, I'm going to go to Earth for this, 100-year period max, which in the scope of eternity, 100 years is less than the blink of an eye, right? I mean, it's nothing when we're talking about that type of timetable. And we say, I'm going to go there. My soul wants to learn this. I'm going to encounter this person and our angels and our spirit guides and our soul plan. And we decide this is it. You're the right people to be on my team. I'm going in, the mission's on, and here we go. And so I believe in pre-life planning. Now, here's the tricky part. We get here and we do have free will. So, right, people will say, did I plan this? Did I come here for this? This is crazy. I would have never chosen that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right? So that's why it's tricky. Free will happens. It does. We all have it. But what you have to know is when you're hearing those whispers of things you're passionate about, of inspiration, that's your soul telling you you're on the right track. There's a lot of noise in this world, so we can get off track really easy, right? But the passion, the inspiration, that when you feel complete, when you feel your energy jump and you get excited, this is your soul and your spirit team constantly telling you, yes, yes, that direction, go that direction. And that's where people get lost a lot of the time. They don't listen to their inner knowing and their intuition, which is your soul's natural compass trying to guide you on the road that you came here to be on.
Okay, I understand now. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that. Like now I'm interested. Like I'm gonna be 100. I'm a very open atheist. So it's like talking to you makes me feel like, okay, the way you describe it, I'm like, this is something that like I could definitely open myself up into thinking about.
Yeah.
Do you experience that a lot where there's a lot of people who are just like, okay, she's starting to make some sense. Like she's making some sense. She's getting through there. Do you have a lot of people who, do come from a non-religious thought,
Right.
that go, okay, I'm opening and accepting what you're saying. Does that happen?
It does. It does happen because, and you and I've talked before, and
We have.
and it was a great conversation. And I don't believe in an old white man with gray hair sitting on a throne judging all of us.
Yeah, there is no sky daddy. There is no sky Santa daddy.
Yeah, but what I do know is from the 3 times that I've been there, it's a place with love. It's a place with completion. What if it was just about you came here to learn lessons, and it wasn't that you pass or fail, that you're wrong or right. It's just a place for your soul to learn and grow. And I would say, start thinking about life that way. On some level, all of our souls came here to play and enjoy the magic of life in this earth realm. And we didn't come here necessarily to be bad or good or fail or pass. It was about soul exploration. And so I will tell you, never once when I've gone into the light have I felt judged. Like, oh, Michelle, you messed up on that. No, you're not welcome here. You're going back, or you're going to a bad place or anything like that. I've never had that experience. I was always accepted 100% completely for exactly who I was that day and time. Never was I told I should have been more or I wasn't enough or anything like that. And so going off of my experiences, I would say if there was a word for God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call this, it's love, and it's loving you right where you are.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We do have something in common. I have had a near-death experience. So we do have things in common. For me, it was blackness and then light, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if that was the light shining through my eyes on the operating table or what it was, but I didn't get to see or feel very much. But I feel like after that, I have a lot of visions. I've had a lot of like predictions for the future. Like, what do you think happens when you go there and then come back?
Yeah.
Do we take something with us back to this? Are we going there and just getting more for our arsenal?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, are there people coming? Are there more than a couple of people coming back from, near-death experiences with new gifts?
Yes, absolutely. So one statistic I saw said 25% of people who have near-death experiences come back as mediums or with mediumship gifts. So to me, what that tells me on a soul level, I do feel like we come to Earth with kind of like amnesia. Like we don't remember what we're here to do, because when we're in that light and in that space of love, it's hard to think we would ever leave that to come here.
Yeah.
Right. And then as we have near-death experiences, or for some people, they don't have to do it the hard way like you and I did. For some people, they just say they're in a church praying and they have this moment where they say, oh my gosh, I felt the light, I felt the love, I felt God, I felt whatever their word is, right? So not everyone has to do it the hard way like you and I did. But yeah, I believe that when you were there, the darkness that you were seeing, to me, as I'm feeling what you're talking about, that's what your humanness was feeling. Maybe you were scared, you were in a situation you didn't want to be in, But then when you start seeing the light, that is the love, and that is the light coming in for you. And what happens then is it erases some of those blinders that you had on, and
Yes.
it actually energetically heightens the frequency of your soul. So you bring that peace back with you. Never, ever by accident. It was no accident that that happened to you. You were meant to have that experience so that you could come back, you could talk about it, and you could share it. Because I truly believe most people have spiritual experiences. Maybe not the dramatic way that you and I had them, but they will know, or they'll say, I woke up and I saw my grandma sitting on my couch when I walked out this morning, and then she was gone, or whatever they're saying. But most people have spiritual experiences, and there's a reason for that. Because we're spirits having a human experience, right?
Yeah, we're definitely, something is making these meat bodies go and do things. So, you know, there's something that's powering this machine, because we know that when people die, the machine stops powering. The machine stops turning on. Like, you know, it's a lot to really think about, like, that there's so much going on, even as we focus on, you know, the problems of the world, the current human world. We fail to think that, like, there's so many other levels of different worlds and energies and frequencies surrounding us all the time. There's lots of things that are around us that we can't see.
Absolutely. And I will tell you that, especially in this time where our world seems so chaotic with COVID and elections and on and on and on, right? Mm-hmm. It's more important than ever to take a couple minutes a day to just focus on your breath, go inside, be quiet, and open up and say, okay, I'm open to messages from my angels, from my loved ones. I'm open to connecting to source, to feeling the love that they have for me. Because each one of our souls anchors in a specific frequency of light. I can't anchor in your frequency, and you can't anchor in mine. Mm-hmm. So in your breath and in those moments that you take to be quiet, that's when we're bringing the light into this planet to make it a better place to live. And that actually, for most people, depending on where they are in the world, helps this planet more than maybe saying, you know, having an address that reaches millions and millions of people. For most people, it's their daily life and bringing that in. And when you're quiet, mm-hmm. connecting to your breath, that's when you're connecting to your loved ones, to spirit, to source. I will say this, we've got to live in the present moment. And I'm reminded of that all of the time, because when I connect with someone's loved one or their angels or their life guides, it's right now, right here in the present moment. It's not yesterday. It's not tomorrow. It's right now. So if you're not being present in your life, it gives you very slim chances of connecting with all these beings of light around you, because they're present and you're in this moment.
That makes sense. That makes sense, because even when they talk about, what is it? I read something the other day that said depression is living in the past. Depression is recycling the ideas of the past over and over and over again, and then you keep thinking about what you could have done, what you didn't do, what could have happened, and it's a way in which it's, you know, it's a disconnect from self.
Yeah.
And probably your spiritual self at that. Like, it's a spiritual cutoff, it's a physical cutoff. So it makes absolute sense that in order to connect with the higher self, the higher beings, maybe not higher, just the different frequency loved ones, the angels, all of that, it probably requires living in the present moment.
Absolutely. Or at least make sure you're checking in with the present, right, during the day. So give yourself a few times during the day where you're like, I'm going to be here now. That's the only place you can be. That doesn't mean we don't make plans for the future. Everyone does, whether it's money, grocery shopping list, right? A grocery shopping list is planning for the future. When I go tomorrow, I'm going to need. I'm not saying don't plan for the future, but I am just saying being present is so important. And that's where the guidance and the light and the soul are, in the present moment.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely true. I am a person personally that I need to learn that lesson, because I have a bad habit of recycling things that happened, even though my current present situation is amazing. It's like, you know, I'm not in those situations anymore, but I have a habit of reliving and visiting those. I am also a PTSD sufferer. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like another level of living in those, in the past.
Right.
I feel like even living in the past, I'm connecting with a lot of energy and a lot of other lanes of existence. And I'm like, well, I feel like once I can connect with the present, that I'll be able to do a lot more in the direction that I want to. And I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Right.
Um,
And you
okay.
know, as you're talking about, you know, depression, PTSD, things like this, listen, some of that energy actually does get trapped in the cellular memory of our body. So it'll be natural that there are times of the year or certain cycles of your life that will bring you back there. And it's kind of like you have to look at it and say, okay, I know what you're trying to tell me. I mean, obviously, people need counseling, and there are so many different support systems to help them get through that, but it does happen on an energetic level, with your body, and your body has to learn, your cells have to learn that it's okay to let that go. The other thing I would say is it's okay to revisit things like that, but you always have to take a step forward, because that's where your life is. So it can be like, I know that was part of my story, I know that that part felt terrible, I know that I hated this part, but today this is where I am, and tomorrow this is where I'm going to be.
It's there needs to be, I feel like there needs to just be more lessons about living in the present moment. I feel like a lot more people need to think about that that feeling, where you're at mentally, where you're at physically, where you're at spiritually. I feel like a lot of us get caught up in the day to day. We get caught up in the like, oh my God, there's an orange president on the TV telling you that things are gonna blow up, or oh, there's war in Iraq, and like, not saying that those things aren't serious and do require our focus, but saying as in we can be caught up in them to a point where we no longer are taking as good care of ourselves as spiritually or even physically.
Right.
Like letting that drama and stress in from the depression and all of that is sometimes you can't avoid it, but I like what you're saying about it keeping you from the present moment, or you have to connect to the present in order to get to your spiritual self.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that. I think that's how I'm trying to put it out. It's not as easy as if I could just make a meme about it, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And really, a lot of times the easiest way is to just use that mantra to say, take a deep breath in, exhale, and say, I'm going to be here now. I know I've got a lot to do tomorrow, but I'm going to be here now. I'm going to be at this lunch with my friend, and I'm going to enjoy it, instead of thinking like, I've got to rush through life. I've got to rush through life. Right. So this is an
Mm-hmm.
interesting kind of metaphor that I had heard before, which was, think about going on this cruise ship, and you're going to go to all these great destinations, and we show up in Miami, Florida, and we're getting ready to leave for the Caribbean, and the captain of the ship calls us all in, and we go in, and he says, well, this week we're going to St. Thomas, and we're going to the Bahamas, and he's telling us about all these destinations. They're going to be phenomenal. And he says, but since we're here now, we'll just go ahead and stay here and go ahead and get off the cruise ship. We're done. And we're not taking that journey. We're not going to see those places. That's what life is like if you don't enjoy the journey, wherever you are on it, right? It's like you showed up, and we came here with these pre-life plans, and some of us had really grand plans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we decide, no, I'm not going to live in it. I'm going to get bogged down by work, bogged down by, you know, the world, by CNN, by Fox News, by whoever's, you know, whatever I
Yeah,
choose. Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, yeah. Like it's like one of those things is that like I noticed that like I have people that I talk to that are they're always complaining about the world, and then like one second I'd heard the background and I was just like, are you just sitting there listening to Mitch McConnell? And I was like, but you hate Mitch McConnell. Why are you sitting there listening to him for hours if you hate this person? And
Right.
and then I had to be like, you're soaking yourself in the hate. You're soaking yourself, like, it's one thing to know, okay, I do not like that person. It's another thing to be sitting there letting yourself be enveloped by it.
Right.
And I have PTSD, I have clinical depression, so I'm not sitting there trying to preach to anybody else. I'm talking to myself, I'm talking to other people. When you have like PTSD and clinical depression and all of those things, it's hard. It's almost like a disease of nostalgia, because you're always playing it over and over again. Um, I'm trying to think exactly where I was going with that, but I feel living in the present moment. That's where we were. I was just like, wait, living in the present moment is where we were. Okay, so I guess I'm going to ask you. Okay, so when clients come to you, so let's say that I'm a client, right?
Yes.
How do I begin this? How do I go? How do I go? Okay, I want to talk to a loved one. Like, is there how does that work? Like, okay, let me say it right now. How do I talk to a loved one? What loved one can I talk to? Like, who would give me the most guidance? Like, it just seems like if you're looking for this kind of answer, it's just hard to navigate and it's hard to start. So,
Yeah.
how do I talk to my loved one?
Right. So if you're talking, are you talking from yourself to your loved one or through a medium?
Let's say I'm the client.
Okay, client.
I'm asking you.
Yes.
I would love to get some advice from the other side.
Okay.
I would love to know if I should continue doing what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
or anything along those lines. I just want to talk to you and see how this process works.
Yeah, exactly. So really, then what you need to do is you need to tune into your soul, right? So number one, we got to be here now. So we can't start thinking about tomorrow. We have to commit to being here in this present moment. And then what we're going to do is we're going to invite in, you're going to invite in, I'm going to invite in your angels, your loved ones, your life guides, any beings of light that have information for your highest good that would like to join us. And as they come in, and this is what you can do for yourself at home, or this is what I hope a certified medium would be doing for you. And then as we do that, we're going to connect. And so for you specifically, because I'm actually already getting information for you, but there are different ways. So different people connect differently. Some people do what's called channeled writing, which would be like they ask a question and then they just start writing the answer. This works well for a lot of people. So let's say we said to the universe, are you supposed to continue on with, and I don't want to get into details, but like your second plan that you have going on right now. And then whatever that plan would be, or whatever, say for some people it's a relationship or whatever that is, you go ahead and you start writing, and you can open up and say, Grandma, I need your direction on this, because I know you had this amazing marriage with Grandpa, or you say, I know you never had a good relationship, but that means you're really wise and you know all about this. So then we start connecting with them on that level, right? And people can write, or you can feel it, or you can maybe hear a word, or you can see. So that would be your connection to your grandma. Listen, you're on track. This is what I need to tell you. You need to stay committed to your number one focus. And you already know what that is in your mind. And that's what I'm feeling for you on an energetic level. You stay committed to that, and that clears your path ahead. The other thing I will say is when we are not feeling like, say we have a couple of choices to make, A and B, and we just don't know which one to choose, we can also sit down and say, okay, and you imagine in your mind which one's A and which one's B, and then you just say, angels, loved ones, whoever you want to connect with, please shine the light on the right answer for me. And then in your mind, see where the light shines first. Okay? And then you'll know. So there are all sorts of ways that we can ask for guidance, and we can connect for ourselves. It's just that it's like a muscle too. The more you do it, the stronger it gets, and the more information, the more knowing you'll have. So think of it as like working out. So the first time you do it, I had a friend and we went to a workshop one time, and every time she's like, I got nothing. And I'd be like, really? Because I got this and that and all this stuff on this, exercise. We go the next one. What'd you get? She's like, I got nothing. So some people work at it more, but be open to playing with it. I will say this, don't do it in a place where you're feeling a lot of stress and pressure when you want to connect. Kind of go into it.
That's like my whole life right now, though.
Yeah, I know. But when you're going into it with kind of like life or death type decisions, it's really hard if it's not something you're used to get that information clearly. Because whether you want to or not, you have heart and energy and emotions connected to one of those answers. Does that make sense?
Yes,
so it's better to start doing it for yourself in more playful ways throughout the day.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, it is almost time to wrap it up. Thank you for the advice. Thank you for telling me how to talk. Thank you for telling me and everybody else how to tap in to, I guess, their medium side, I guess, or communicate to their loved ones, finding your space. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I guess what would you want to leave the audience with? Like, what are the words that you would leave the audience with that would be most helpful?
Just knowing that you're not living this life alone. No matter how alone you feel today, you are truly not here alone.
Thank you so much. That is the best ending I have ever had to this show. So I hope that you will come back and maybe we'll have people call in. We'll talk more about this. It has been a joy talking to you. I am looking forward to seeing you on everything soon. I'm looking forward to you having a documentary. I'm looking forward to a television show. I am looking forward to see you doing more of what obviously you have been gifted with.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to connect with you today. You know I love you.
I love you too. Okay. Thank you guys for joining me on the Madelinekarita show. We will be back hopefully soon in the studio, but for right now, because of COVID, we will be working out of my room that is strangely dark, but also strangely filled with light right now. I think it's Michelle's fault that it's filled with light right now. Well, thank you guys for joining me on this Zoom COVID edition of the Madelinekarita show. I hope you join us and check us out, the Madelinekarita Show on Instagram, the Madelinekarita Show on Facebook. Check out Michelle Clare on everything Michelle Clare on the internet. Medium Michelle Clare on the internet. Have a great day, guys. I hope to see you again soon. This is a late night talk show. Watch us on Wednesday from 9:30 to 10:30 p.m. on MCN6 in Minneapolis. Bye.
Bye.